We'll start off first by Tyler Izen, followed by Lou and Kristi. Morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Mr. President Pro Tem. I'm Tyler Izen. I'm a detective with the Los Angeles Police Department and the president of the Los Angeles Police Protective League. As you are aware, after 4 days of ratification meetings and by majority vote, 5,823 Los Angeles police officers rejected a proposed one-year contract offered by the City of Los Angeles. The League spent over 5 months negotiating with the City, and we presented the best offer we were able to obtain. We agree with Mayor Garcetti's recent YouTube messages. Paying officers for the overtime that they work and paying competitive salaries are the right things to do. Our membership's vote to reject the city's contract is clear evidence that morale is down. There's a deep-seated frustration and anger among the rank and file due to their low pay, a disciplinary system that is viewed as biased and unfair, and their belief that management is not receptive to their concerns. Mayor Garcetti's acknowledgement that our sacrifices during the past 5 years has, quote, saved the city hundreds of millions of dollars, end quote, and, quote, helped keep our city government afloat, end quote, does little to alleviate our membership's frustration. And our officers are not without alternatives. Experienced and well-trained officers are desired by police and sheriff's department throughout Southern California. LAPD officers simply do not feel supported either by their department or their city. The lack of a raise was a slap in the face because there was not even an attempt to bring us up to the pay levels of the 14 other Southern California law enforcement agencies whose pay is higher than ours. This was not greed. This was the frustration of knowing that you are among the best, yet paid among the least. Increasing the starting pay is important because LAPD cannot fill an academy class. But fixing that problem alone does not help most of our members pay their bills. Also, our discipline system is broken. Our members just don't feel safe doing their jobs. That's my overview. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. And a couple things before we start, because I want to make sure that when you do come up to the podium, your clock is going to start. So for those who wish to applaud, you'll be taking some of their time. So I want just to everybody to know that. And before we do start your clock, I'd like to acknowledge somebody else who has joined us here today as well. Councilmember Nate Holden is in the room. So I just wanted to say hello and send our respect to you as well. So thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Detective Lou Turriaga. I'm one of the directors of the Los Angeles Police Protective League. I will give an overview of what we experienced in those 16 ratification meetings we had with almost 6,000 officers, and then my fellow directors will have more specific comments. By the way, in my time on the job and in the memory of those with more time on than me, there has never been a response of as many members as to this contract ratification. What I was exposed to was a deep-seated frustration and anger in our officers. We had obtained some benefits in the proposed contract for them, but there was no raise in pay. Officers were offended that there was no recognition by the city that LAPD officers were paid less than their neighboring city officers, with nowhere near the complexity of law enforcement problems faced every day by our officers. It was apparent that our members were only numbers. As the mayor has said, it is, quote, a math problem. This is not a math problem. This is a priority problem and a trust problem. Officers feel alienated from management and the city. They do not feel like partners. Somehow, the feeling that we are all united in a mission of public safety must be restored.
Good morning. I'm Officer Kristi Eckard, and I'm a director with the Los Angeles Police Protective League. LAPD officers acutely remember when the city was in financial crisis because they stepped up to the plate. They agreed to forego cash overtime, which saved the city $80 million a year. They also agreed to a pension reform by adding Tier 6 to the pension system, which saved the city $30 million a year. There was a reduction in pay for new hires, which saved the city $5 million a year. Over a period of 3 years, LAPD officers have saved the city hundreds of millions of dollars. These were supposed to be temporary measures. The savings to the city granted by our officers' actions could easily provide funds for a raise that would bring them closer to the salaries and benefits of other law enforcement agencies around Los Angeles. The city currently has $400 million in its reserve fund, and our officers' sacrifices are part of the reason for this. It's time to recognize that the temporary measures need to be discarded and return our officers to the pay and benefits that they deserve. The city's refusal to meaningfully address the disparity of our officers' pay compared to other law enforcement agencies, the department's arbitrary, biased, and unfair discipline system, inconsistent working conditions, and the perception that management is unreceptive to our concerns is creating a toxic stew that will have long-lasting and impactful results for the city's residents. Public safety that's delivered by these highly trained and dedicated men and women of LAPD cannot come on the cheap any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter, followed by Adolph, Karina, Joretta, and Mark.
Good afternoon. According to city financial documents, there was a 2009 projected deficit of $529 million. Yet, there was a $74 million surplus when the year ended. The 2010 projected deficit was $429 million. Yet, there was a $57 million surplus when the year ended. The 2011 projected deficit was $336 million. Yet, there was a $40 million surplus when the year ended. The 2012 projected deficit was $238 million. Yet there was a $141 million surplus when the year ended. And now, in 2013 fiscal year, we are told there is a $215 million projected deficit. Our experts estimate that all the former years, the year will end up with a surplus. We think around $200 million. The sky is falling mantra is sung every year, and every year the sky doesn't fall. The reason is that when the deficit is calculated every year, there are income streams that are not included in the calculations. For instance, one-time revenues, normal growth revenue, budget underspending, efficiency savings, all not included, but all come in through the year, and the city ends up with a large surplus, again, this year, $200 million range. If public safety is first, then public safety should be funded first. These budget games are very common and used to sway public opinion, but also insulting to our police officers who put their lives on the line every single day. Funding does exist to give our officers parity with other local agencies. I ask all of you here today to take a stand on this issue and be fair to the 10,000 men and women of the LAPD. By weighing in and asserting jurisdiction, make public safety your priority. Thank you very much.
Mr. President and council members, I'm Director Adolph Rodriguez and a 24-year police officer. Because so many officers have left for other agencies and academy recruit classes are only half full, there is a direct impact on our ability to provide safety to the Los Angeles community, its residents and visitors alike. Roll calls that should be deploying 7 or 8 cars are fielding only 2 or 3. Pressure on watch commanders to provide coverage with inadequate numbers of officers to meet the demand end up enforcing them to generate creative ways to make it look like minimum deployment standards are being met, such as fielding ghost cars. It is not the watch commander's fault. It's a lack of resources and the mismanagement of assets that is at fault, and that occurs at a much higher level. Officers and supervisors know that they are working the streets without sufficient units to do the job. The result is inadequate coverage, and this has direct impact on response time to emergency calls and crime reduction. There is also a direct impact on the ability of an officer in trouble to get vital, timely help that is needed from other officers. Will any units be available? Will the responding units have to come from another division, perhaps another bureau? The impact on crime is already apparent. Last Thursday, the LA Weekly examined crime statistics and found a 45% increase in robberies and Van Nuys, a 40% increase in aggravated assaults in Topanga and Devonshire, a 20% increase in aggravated assaults in Central Division, and a 66% increase in Northeast Division homicides. Lack of parity with other organizations caused us to lose over 130 officers last year, mainly to other agencies. Each time a new officer leaves us, we lose $150,000 in training costs, which translates into a major benefit to the hiring agency. The loss of officers and the inability to recruit is a recipe for disaster that needs to be addressed immediately. Thank you.
Good morning, Karina Lee, Vice President. There is a crystal ball that we can look into and predict the future. We can learn from others' mistakes and not repeat them. That's the San Jose PD. A decade ago, San Jose officials boasted that having the safest, largest city in the country. Today, they are struggling to put a decimated police department back together after reducing their pay and benefits for their officers. Their ranks went from 1,400 officers to 900 officers, with another 300 officers expected to leave or resign this year. They are also spending large amounts of money on recruitment and only lose these recruits in a short period of time. Sounds familiar? Here at LAPD, we train so others can retain. San Jose's crime rate has gone up. Their response time has gone from 8 minutes to 20 minutes. They have instituted mandatory overtime. Last week, San Jose officials announced that they are going to have to send unarmed civilians in the community as community service officers with only tear gas to respond to non-emergency calls to free up police officers. The civilians cannot write checks, make arrests. There is a severe shortage of police officers, and this is a necessary measure they have to take. San Jose news sources quoted a neighborhood association member whose streets are rampant with gangs, prostitution, and homeless. He said, "I'd like to see more actual police officers on the street, especially when I call 911. We want faster response time. We want them to show up. Right now, they don't show up. We really need to put the money where the officers are." How much longer before our citizens will be saying the same here? San Jose is sounding a warning bell. We need to listen. We need to fix our parity issues before they become another San Jose, not afterwards. Officer safety and public safety are the #1 priority for this city. Let's keep the citizens and our officers safe. The men and women behind me are the best of the best. Let's show them through a competitive pay and benefit package. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Jaretta Sandals. I hold the sergeant rank. I'm a director for the Los Angeles Police Protective League. A common theme that we heard from the city is if we give you a raise, we have to give the 43 other unions a raise. While we have the greatest respect for our civilian brothers and sisters and recognize the work they do, comparing us to civilian workers is like comparing apples to oranges. You will discover that LAPD is ranked number 14th in pay in all the agencies surrounding us. We are the best of the best, and we're asking this city to treat us that way. LAPD did not lose 130 officers last year because they transferred to DWP or they transferred to any other city entity. They transferred to other outside agencies, and we need to be compared to that. Public safety isn't an option. It's a fundamental necessity of civilization and a prime guarantee of freedom. LAPD officers prevent crimes, save lives, and combat terrorism every single day. We risk our lives every day to make sure this city is safe. Please don't lose perspective. Crime is down on the backs of these LAPD officers and the citizens of Los Angeles who work together to ensure that this city is safe. LAPD officers protect lives. They do it with commitment and pride. And it's a thankless job. So what I want to say is thank you, LAPD officers, for putting your lives on the line every single day. Thank you for protecting this city. LAPD officers bargain alone. Strong leadership, strong city leadership, should be able to distinguish the jobs that we do and pay us accordingly. LAPD officers are the best of the best. We're world class. You have to pay us and treat us like we're world class. Or Torrance, Santa Monica, Redondo Beach, they'll be taking us. So I ask you to please compensate us as such.
My name is Mark Cron. I'm a director at the Los Angeles Police Protective League. So far, everyone has been talking about numbers, but this is not just about economics. There's a real human side to this as well. The majority of our officers are young men and women, and in addition to being subjected to the pressures and problems of law enforcement, are also struggling to provide for their families. Many continue to live at home with parents. Most cannot afford to even live in Los Angeles and have to pay for long commutes and forego the dream of home ownership. Thousands have to supplement their incomes with off-duty employment just to make ends meet. All of this is not without cost to the officer himself as well as to the department as a whole in the long run. The stresses and strains built into the choice of choosing a career in law enforcement do not leave the average person with anything left over to deal with the anxiety and pressure of not having enough money to meet the needs of daily life. Our officers have lost houses, cars, and been forced to move in with relatives because of the low pay and loss of income over the period of the last contract. We are asking the City of Los Angeles to provide LAPD officers with a wage comparable to surrounding police agencies. The cost of milk, electricity, gas, and even minimum wage continues to increase, while LAPD wages are a net cumulative loss over the last decade. We hear the mayor and our chief say they respect and believe our officers are the best in California, if not the nation. However, words are hollow without substantive action. Our membership spoke clearly during the ratification meetings. Therefore, the city must demonstrate to our members through their action that they truly believe that we are the best police department. Grant them the parity in salary and benefits that agencies all around us give to their officers. That is our goal. We hope it is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. David Nunez, Rusty Radican, Bryce Verna, and Kathleen Matthews be next.
Good morning, everybody. Honorable council persons. Many of us police officers have been here before asking for your help, for your assistance to solve crimes, and you have responded with rewards. Today I am here, a 31-year veteran of the Los Angeles Police Department, asking for your help and support in our contract. Our officers risk their lives daily to protect the citizens of LA. At the very least, they deserve a salary that allows them to afford the basic necessities of life. They should not have to work overtime or off-duty jobs to be able to afford food, housing, and clothing. They should not have to work 2 or 3 jobs to put their children through school, like I do. Many of us have families, and some of us have health issues that prevent us from working several off-duty jobs to make ends meet. The minimum wage went up, which means that the business people will pass the increase on to the consumer. The price of food, gas, clothing, all have gone up with a 0% the cost of living. You propose to the officers that we're going backward. We should be going forward. Please help us with that endeavor. And on the other hand, the officers also deserve a chief of police who makes disciplinary decisions that are fair, impartial, and are based on the facts of unbiased, objective investigations. Any police chief decision should not be based on the involved party's families, connections, or their personal rank, or the person's rank. Officers have a right to a discipline system that is fair and objective. It is not acceptable that the rank and file get fired for a DUI incident while the command staff officers get a ride home with no penalty. It is not acceptable for the rank and file to be held to a higher standard of conduct.
I don't want to cut you off, but I want to make sure that we give everybody an equal amount of time. But thank you.
I understand that, sir, but it's, well,
I appreciate it. And if you got it in writing, you can submit it as well as part of the record if you like.
I have to the mayor as well.
Great. Excellent.
Maybe you're a friend of the chief of police. I don't know.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, folks. My name is Officer Rusty Redican, and respectfully, I want to thank you all for your time. We police officers, like all of you city council members, love our job, our city, and the people we serve. And we, rank and file, have written a blank check to the people of this great city, like 3 of you that are up there now, who tangibly understand exactly what that means to us. So that being said, fairness is all we expect in return, and especially with respect to our disciplinary system. As police officers, we do an inherently dangerous job that has the most finite of consequences. And 2014, as you all know, has brought far too many salient examples of this. Those losses that we cannot control, however, our disciplinary system should take a common sense approach that is transparent and logical. Equitable treatment by our management shouldn't be an unrealistic expectation. And yet, more often than not, management lets us down as far as that expectation. And basically being judged by the shiny items on your lapels should not be the weight that is used to judge us in these disciplinary proceedings. You know, a lot of times when these things occur, again, unless you've gotten the golden handshake, the current disciplinary system is not only broken, but spiteful, hostile, retaliatory, and in many cases prevents any lateral or upward mobility within the department. There is no fairness or consistency with common sense, and often there's an unwritten rule of a 5-year rock that is placed in an officer's pocket, thwarting any advancement in his career. As you guys can understand, this brings a lot of undue stress to not only our families, but us officers as well. As for the rank and file, we've been loyal and will remain to be loyal, but we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And in terms of this disciplinary system, it's turned our morale into an arterial bleed that's in need of a tourniquet. So respectfully, we would appreciate your leadership on this. And again, thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Okay, again, if you could just state your name before you speak.
It's Officer Bryce Verna. Good morning, distinguished council members. My name is Bryce Verna. I'm a motor officer with the Los Angeles Police Department. I have been an officer for over 15 years and am currently assigned to Valley Traffic Division. Proudly, I've been a motor officer for almost 11 years. I want to assure you I'm not here on my day off out of anger and do not have any ill will towards the city of Los Angeles or the city council. I'm here to make a few points and hopefully shed some light on the importance of my job, my fellow officers behind me, and why we stand before you here today. I was a Boy Scout, a military veteran, and I signed back up after 9/11 to help my country. I've tried to be the best person I possibly can in my life, and there is no question I wanted to be an LAPD officer, the tradition, the history, and the best out there. Departments around the world model their training and policing and sometimes even our uniform and badge. We are portrayed in TV shows and movies. I knew going into this job I would never be famous, nor would I get rich, nor no notoriety, and there would be a lot of sacrifice, hard work, and stress. In 15 years, I've never had a New Year's Eve off. I've missed countless family and friends events, birthdays and holidays. In fact, this week alone, I've worked on my motorcycle doing traffic enforcement, 107-degree weather, worked the president, a funeral, and on Saturday night, while my friends and family were going out or asleep, I was working DUI enforcement till 3 a.m. There's never a day where I haven't been almost hit at least once or have a close call, all while having to make split-second decisions that could be life or death. We have an extremely hard job, full of stress, on top of court training, special details, and balancing a social life plus family. In closing, I have to admit my feelings along with my fellow officers have been hurt. This has been a horrible year for LAPD, for fallen officers, and there have been numerous off-duty deaths and accidents with our family in 2014. There has been talk by LA City officials that stated over 40 separate unions are up for contract negotiations. I have the utmost respect for all city workers. Trust me, I couldn't go down in an electrical vault, I couldn't design a building, I couldn't make power, I couldn't battle a burning building. But I can I can assure you no other city agency, bureau, or department has lost 203 of their own. No other entity faces the constant danger day in and day out, and all I ask is please don't compare us to anybody else. Great. We have reduced crime levels down to the last 10 years to 1940 levels, and my father gave the ultimate sacrifice to the city in 1983.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. President, distinguished members of the City Council. My name is Sergeant Kathleen Matthews, and I've been a proud member of this department for more than 20 years. I love the department, and I love the City of Los Angeles. During my career, I have seen crime rates drop to historic lows, and LAPD relationships with the communities that we serve improve significantly. These achievements would not have been possible without the hard work and dedication of the men and women of this department. Sadly, I've also watched the pay of LAPD officers drop in comparison with police agencies in Southern California. For years, we have been asked to make sacrifices, financial sacrifices that have been at great cost to our officers and their families. We have police officers who have lost their homes and been forced to move in with family members and roommates. The cost of living, including food, transportation, education, are steadily rising, along with our health care and pension contributions. It is time now to raise LAPD wages. We have saved the city more than $478 million in the last 4 years and continue to work hard and serve the citizens of Los Angeles. For many of our younger officers, home ownership is no longer a reality on an LAPD officer's salary. These are the same men and women who put their lives on the line every day for this community. They simply cannot afford to make ends meet. We have become a more educated police force in recent years, and many of our officers have advanced degrees and work experience outside of law enforcement. We are not only losing these officers to other higher-paying law enforcement agencies, we're also losing them to higher-paying professions as well. You have asked for our support as individuals and also as a city council. I am now imploring you to support our brother and sister officers, their families. Los Angeles Police Departments are the finest in the country, and please treat us that way. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speakers are Craig Marquez, Terry Turner, Joel Secor, followed by Marcial Cruz, and finally John Jennell. Good morning.
Good morning, esteemed members of the Los Angeles City Council and fellow brothers and sisters of the Los Angeles Police Department. My name is Craig Marquez, and I am a detective in LAPD. More importantly, I'm a resident of East Los Angeles whose family lives in Council District 14. This contract isn't about recognition for the job we do. In 19 years on the LAPD, I've received the Los Angeles Police Department Medal of Valor, American Legion Medal of Valor, California Peace Officers Association Award of Valor, and the 2012 Top Cop Award as one of the top law enforcement officers in the nation. I can tell you I have received more than enough recognition for the work I do. I wear many hats in my everyday life. Besides the detective hat that I wear at work, I'm also a single father who has full custody of a beautiful 16-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son with special needs. We have heard many things about this recent contract. Some of it applies to certain people, some of it not so much. But let me say, as a single father, and for those who sit in these chambers today, to call something a cost of living adjustment or COLA is not what it really is. For those of us in my position, a single parent, we should call it for what it is, a cost of daycare adjustment. For the majority of us, the demands of police work lead us to the impossible task of finding daycare that will accommodate our schedules. If you are lucky to find a babysitter or daycare that will accommodate your schedule, I can guarantee you, you will pay top dollar for that service. And that service has not gotten any cheaper in the last 5 years, even though we have been without a raise during that time. Ladies and gentlemen, the mountains we move every day in our lives are real. Every emergency that Los Angeles faces comes with sacrifices that an entire family make. That means every riot we see over a basketball game, every day some group decides to occupy LA, we are forced to pay a higher rate for those watching our children. In closing, I am a proud resident of Los Angeles. My best years have been with the city. We are not adversaries, we are partners. Thank you.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen of the
Morning.
Council. Morning, colleagues. Morning to you all. My name is Terry Turner, I'm a member of the Los Angeles Police Department, the best police department in the history of law enforcement. For 24 and a half years, I've been doing this job. In 1994, I had an opportunity to go to Santa Monica PD because they offered me more money. And that was very tempting. But I knew in my heart that I was leaving the greatest police department in the country. So I chose to stay because at that point, the money wasn't all that important. Fast forward to 2014. Well, it's very important now because, as most of my colleagues have got up here and mentioned to you, and I'm sure you all know, we are asked to do a lot with less. We put it on the line every day. And I look at this sort of as a business. In the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, Major League Baseball, the #1 players are paid accordingly. We are not. When it comes to salaries, we're not in the same ballpark as other agencies in the city and in the state. And unfortunately, a lot of us pay the ultimate price. I read an article recently in the LA Times about the city pays millions of dollars to retired police officers and retired fighter fighters. Well, that was very insulting to me because I think they've all earned it throughout the years that they worked for the city. But what I didn't read in that article, and I want to be very clear on that, what I didn't read was Chris Cortillo, Paul Verna, Nick Lee, Tina Cabret, Christy Hamilton, Van Johnson, James Bea, all officers that were killed in the line of duty. Well, guess what? They're not going to be able to enjoy their retirements. And all the other officers that we lost. And finally, because this is personal, 2005, May 5th, 2005, I suffered a stroke. I spent 5 days in ICU at Holy Cross Hospital.
Ask you to wrap it up if you could.
1 minute, please. A couple of seconds.
We can't allow another minute. I got to reopen it for everybody else if we did. So.
Thank you very much.
I do appreciate it. Thank you. No. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks for understanding. We've got to just do it all.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir.
In fact, I've got a stack, just so you all know, and I'm going to hold your time for a minute.
Respectfully.
Of speaker cards for when you all leave that aren't police officers as well, on just other matters and the folks that come to public comment each and every day. And I think you've met some of those earlier today in the meeting. We have to treat them the same way that whatever we do with you as well. And it's just got to be fair across the board in terms of public speaking and time. So I just want you to all be aware of that. I appreciate your understanding.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good morning to everybody. My name is Marcial Cruz, and I am a police officer at the LAPD's Topanga Division. I've been a police officer for almost 12 years. I'm currently assigned to the patrol assignment at Topanga. On December of 2013, I was diagnosed with a very rare, aggressive, and life-threatening form of cancer. As a result of that, in January of this year, I suffered the amputation of my left foot. While I was at home suffering from this loss, fighting to survive and recover, my peers, everybody here present, the Protective League, and numerous other department resources pulled together to help me overcome this situation so that I could return to work. Fortunately, on May 28th of this year, I was able to return to the field doing what I love most, working patrol. In June, I finally was established to the actual patrol assignment, and now I can be out in a black and white serving the citizens of Los Angeles. And these kind of sacrifices, I know that they don't really mean much to some of you. Maybe they might not mean anything at all, and I don't expect that to. But what I do respectfully ask for is that just like I gave everything in my power to overcome the situation, to recover and get up from my condition and return back to the streets to protect the citizens of Los Angeles, I respectfully ask that you all do the same for us, that you do everything in your power to protect us and to not take away our overtime, our COLA and benefits that we work so hard for. And while I'm here, I'd like to thank all of my peers, the Protective League, everybody that was there for my family and I to support us through this horrendous situation. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. and you all have a good day.
No, thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Joel Secor, and I was born and raised in the city of Los Angeles. I am the second generation of city employees and the second of 4 brothers, all of whom are police officers on this department. 4 years ago, as an LAPD Academy recruit, I never imagined that I'd be standing before you today under these circumstances. In 2006, my oldest brother became an LAPD officer. And when I applied to the LAPD, I was aware that new hires would make 20% less pay during academy and probation, but that upon completion of their probationary period, we would be brought back up to the normal pay scale. LAPD recruitment flyers and the Los Angeles City website supported this, but the 20% pay raise never came. Living in Southern California is hard and expensive. My wife, infant son, and I struggled to afford the essentials. We took on multiple roommates simply to afford our housing costs. It has become even harder lately as utility companies increase rates, food and gas prices rise, and the value of the dollar continues to erode due to inflation. The 2 brothers who joined after me have also made sacrifices in their own ways. Thanks to my parents, though, we've been able to stay with the LAPD by them helping us in some ways, whether it was with bills, school loans, cars, and even housing. Seen within one family, the pay disparity between brothers is quite amazing. Our oldest brother's lifestyle is very different from ours, even though we assume the same risks and do the same job. The rhetoric, "I am valued as a police officer and my hard work fighting crime is greatly appreciated," does not pay my family's bills. It is discouraging to see others working for other local agencies making significantly more than me. No one joins the LAPD to become rich, but every single officer, whether they are affected by the 20% pay disparity or not, expects to be able to provide for their family and live comfortably. This is not happening. Despite years of pleading and even initiating legal action, the city continues to delay fixing the full 20% pay disparity and flat out refuses to compensate through back pay those hired under false pretenses. If we are valued and appreciated, then please demonstrate that to us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And